Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the South Pole. This is Penguin Land, my second Let's Play of it, because I got the basic gameplay down and I wanted to show that and explain how the basic gameplay really works in this game. It's not what it looks like. The game doesn't work the same as what it looks like. So I'll be explaining everything in just a moment. I've been managing to get my score into the range of the 300s and 400s, so it's not awesome. I showed in my first video that some people have really mastered this game and gotten their score into the hundreds of thousands of points. So I don't know anything about that, but I can play well enough to show that I've got the basic mechanics of the gameplay down, which I'll be showing and explaining. And I do have a couple of weak points yet that I will explain when they come up. So if and when I die, I'll be explaining what happened and what my weak point is with that, with each death. But until I happen to die, I'll just explain the basic gameplay here. So the main goal, obviously, is not to be killed. The penguin has, just has his front yard going crazy every single day. Absolute madness right outside his front door, with icicles flying around, panda bears running by, not panda bears, polar bears running by, and wild wolves floating by. Everything is floating by in this game, but wild wolves running by. Maybe jumping by. They could be leaping by as well. It depends how you interpret it and how you imagine it. As far as what exactly the wolf and the bear are doing. Are they running by, leaping by, whatever. However you want to picture it. One really cool thing about these LCD games is that they really demand your imagination to be used, because everything is just so simplistic and so basic that you really need to have your imagination working to enjoy these games. But yeah, the bear and the wolf look like they're floating by, and it's up to the player if you want to interpret it as running or leaping, jumping, whatever. So I've been peaking lately in the late 300s, but I have gotten up to almost 500. I've gotten up to 480, and I want to get a better handle on it, and I want to push my high score, but here I am dying on the first life. So I'm going to kill him off again real quick and start a new game, a fresh new game. This is what I do if I die right away like that. So you're better off starting a new game with all your lives. Alright, so the primary goal, like I said, is just not to die from all these threats going crazy outside the poor penguin's front door. And then the secondary goal is catching this fishing pole right here. It always falls in exactly the same spot. So for each round of gameplay, the penguin needs to catch that fishing pole and then go off to the right towards his fishing spot. Right there. So that's one round completed every time you do that. You get 20 points every time you do that. And I think the gameplay starts to ramp up the number of enemies and threats in the 300 range. So I think that's why I keep on dying out there, but it's hard to say for sure. I think the game gets harder in that range of 300s and 400s, but then again, maybe I'm just getting fatigued of the gameplay at that point, so maybe it just seems harder. It's hard to say exactly. But that's what I've been maxing out in that range. I want to do better. I want to at least get up to 500 here. But let me explain the basic gameplay. There are three main positions of gameplay in this game. That is, there's three main spots for the penguin to stand. Three main spots. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Um, this is the safest spot. Number 1 is the safest spot in the game, actually. And then number 2 is the second safest spot right here. And I think that might be why it's got that yellow igloo in the background, which I disliked at first. Like, why would an igloo be yellow? But I think it might be yellow to make it seem associated with the yellow light in your doorway, which is the ultimate safe spot of this game. So this is where the penguin starts at the very start of each round, but it's kind of pre-round, pre-gameplay that you start in that total safe spot. Nothing can reach you there, but the game will kick you out in a few seconds if you don't jump out fast enough, so you need to jump out when the coast is clear. Because the game will often kick you out right into an enemy, so you'll die. So that's that safety spot of your doorway. Let's see. That safe. I don't really have a great reason why I died right there. I was kind of getting lost and trying to think of what to explain next. But basically, the doorway doesn't count as one of the main positions of gameplay because you can't go back to it. Once you leave it, you can't go back. So that leaves those 3 main positions of gameplay: 1, 2, and 3. Now, the game looks like chaos at first, but it's not. Right there's 2 threats. That's one of my weaknesses. When there are multiple threats at the same time, it keeps on being the main reason that I'm dying in this game. Hang on a second, let me get a sip of coffee here. Okay, the game just kicked me out and got killed by an icicle. So that's annoying and frustrating, but that shows what I'm saying. Get out of that doorway when you can. It is cool that the game gives you a little break like that. It lets you have a sip of coffee or whatever for just a moment, for a few seconds there, that you can wait in your doorway here in total safety. I'm in the number 2 spot, number 3 spot. Now, the number 3 spot is the most dangerous place in the game because that wolf is one of the most dangerous enemies of the game. Actually, the wolf and the whale are both really dangerous enemies because they'll both kill you almost as soon as you see them. Like, so if you see either one of them, you need to run out of that area because you're about to be killed. That's how it is for the wolf and the whale. They're both almost instantly dangerous. The other enemy, the polar bear, is not a huge threat. He seems to take a long time to get to you. Once you see him on screen, you've got a lot of time to run away from him. So I don't consider him a huge threat. And he's pretty easy to get away from too. Now, each of the 3 positions has exactly 1 threat to it. So even though it looks like chaos, that's the pattern of it. That's the very limited, predictable pattern of action that's taking place here. There's only 1 threat possible in each position. So even though the game looks like everything is just jumping around everywhere, it's not. It's only 1 place threatened by each enemy. Right here is the safest spot because the only threat here is the icicles, and there's not icicles most of the time. So it's not a dangerous place. It is the most safe of the 3 positions of gameplay. You can usually go there and get away from everything. Both animals can't get you in that one position, and it's kind of amazing because at first it looks like they could both attack you. It looks like they could both reach you there, but they both can't. Only the icicle can, and that's why that's the safest spot in the game. 1 second. Right up here is the second safest spot in the game, where you can get away from the wolf every single time. The enemies never do anything different or react differently. Despite how it looks like they're going to get the penguin at any moment, they'll never get him in certain positions. Especially right here. You're invincible from the wolf and the bear. Up here, number 2, it's got the yellow to remind you of the yellow light of your doorway as a safe spot. And you can always get away from the wolf, like I said. But the bear can get you here. The bear takes forever to get there, but he will eventually attack you right there. That's when he turns right there. That image that has him turning to the right, that's where he'll attack you if you stay here too long. And there's 2 threats. I should have gone to the left side. I should have gone to safety in the first position there. So that explains the first position, the second position. The third one, obviously, is where you catch the fishing pole, and that's why it's the most dangerous position as well. It's because you have to go, right in that spot to catch the fishing pole, and, so it makes sense in a way that they made it, the most threatened spot in this game. The most threatened of those 3 spots. That's all you should consider as the main positions of gameplay. Off to the right here, you can sit there, but I just consider that as the goal area. You could consider it, the 4th position, but I recommend not trying to ever stand there because the whale sneaks up on you faster than it looks like and faster than you expect. So I would say limit your gameplay to those 3 positions. Avoid the final 4th position and the fishing area itself unless obviously the coast is clear and you're running for a goal. That's the only time you should use the areas on the right side of the screen right there. .400, so I'm getting to my highest score. Like I said, my highest score has been a 480. So let's see what happens here. I think the gameplay ramps up, unless it's my imagination. It seems to get harder, but let's see what happens. Right now it doesn't, though. Right now it does not seem harder, so maybe I was just getting, stressed out and fatigued by the gameplay, so maybe that's why it seemed harder. Right now it seems just as easy as ever, so let's see what happens. Number 1 safe spot, number 2 safe spot, most dangerous spot where you have to go to get that fishing pole. I went there. Now here's 2 threats that I really can't. 480, that's exactly what my high score is. I don't know how long this recording is. This might be getting to the limit of my recording as well. There's been a certain glitch where it's kind of a glitch where QuickTime Player has been stopping recording new videos at 25 minutes. I know I just have to restart my Mac or whatever, most likely. But my last video did stop recording at 25 minutes. I emptied my Mac's garbage pail, so hopefully that helps have more space. So hopefully it's still recording right now, but it's probably been about 25 minutes, and it might not be recording if it's repeating the same behavior, same glitchy behavior as a moment ago. Anyway, this game is awesome. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the artwork. It's not overly cute, in my opinion, so I really enjoy it. I don't get into overly cute artwork, but I think this game has artwork that does the trick of just being a little bit cute and not quite too much to be unlikable. So it really works for me. I just find it to be really cheerful, enjoyable artwork. It's a cheerful, simplistic world here. All you have to do is dodge your threats, grab your fishing pole and go catch lunch or dinner. So that's all there is in this entire world, in this penguin's entire world. That's all there is. Every single day, that's all he does. So that gives it a certain simplistic cheerfulness. I do want to mention the colors used real quick. If you look at the colors, you probably haven't noticed this yet, but it's interesting to look at how limited the colors are that they used when they made this game. No doubt this was to keep costs very low for this game, but it's interesting to check out. The colors are more limited than it looks like at first. First of all, the white color is apparently just the color of the printed background. I mean, rather, it's the color of the background that the other images are printed on. There's just a white piece of paper, is basically what I'm trying to say. So that's not printed with white ink or anything. Or white paint. That's just the actual background itself. Just is a white piece of paperboard, it would seem. So everything that's white is actually clear. It's just not printed with anything. So that would no doubt keep costs low. Oh man, I can't believe I'm really maxing out here in the mid 300s. and the late 400s. My last game I got 480. I feel like apparently I'm hitting some wall, whether it's my own fatigue or it's my own, I don't know, my own frustration, or whether the game really ramps up a lot more than it looks like. It's really hard to say, but for whatever reason, the game seems to get harder in the 300s and 400s usually, and there it was. Maxing out again in the 300s. I want to break through the wall that I'm limited by. Oh man, my right arm and my right hand is cramping up right now. Oh man. I'm not used to gaming with a keyboard like I'm doing here. I'm using the bottom keys on my keyboard, and it's alright. It's decent enough. I'm using the bottom left and right arrow keys on my keyboard. You can map out the input buttons however you want to, but to me that was just like the most obvious way to do it, and it'll help me get used to using these bottom arrow keys too. So that's what I'm doing, and it might sound like a lame excuse or whatever, but it's not. My hands are literally not used to gaming with a keyboard in any way whatsoever, including using the arrow keys like I'm doing here. My hand is just not used to it at all. So once in a while I do mess up because of that. Whereas I've grown up with all different game pads, starting with the NES, and then then the Sega Genesis, etc., etc. So I've always been comfortable with all different game pads, but my beautiful wireless gamepad that I usually would use for most games in my Mac, that gamepad it didn't work with the game automatically, and I didn't see how the website was really set up to do that. So that's why I'm using my keyboard. All right. That weak point there. Each death, I'll be explaining my weak point that caused that death. All right, that weak point there was rushing into my next move. It's a really easy tendency to have in this game. It's really easy to rush into your next move too fast and get killed for it once in a while. Like, you always want to rush and grab the fishing pole, but the game forces you to relax in your gameplay and take your time and to stick to the safe spots. Here, I'm in that spot that I said to avoid. Once in a great while, you pretty much have to use that as a refuge if there's a wolf. Um, but anytime you can help it, just avoid that fourth spot there, because the whale will get you faster than you expect, and avoid this bottom spot as much as possible. You know, position number 3. You want to avoid position number 3. Usually it is the third position. That's the order that you want to use each position is the order that I gave it, 1, 2, and 3. It's also just the left to right order, so it's fairly intuitive. You want to stick to number 1 and number 2 most of the time, in that order that they're in. Alright, now I'm going to kill off my lives here, because that was a very early death. So yeah, it's not, well, there's a double threat right there, and that's my biggest weak point. Getting caught with multiple threats at the same time. Okay. So the folks out there that are getting hundreds of thousands of points are apparently managing to avoid getting stuck with those double and triple threats, making one get stuck like that. People are apparently getting beyond that, and that's where I need to improve on my own gameplay. Still, my gameplay should show that I've got the basics down. I'm sticking to those 3 positions that I described. For the 4th position, right over there, you want to basically check up the river each time. You want to take a split second to look up the river before you run off to the goal each time. And it might sound obvious what I'm saying, but I mean, I'm emphasizing that you have to do this. You have to do this in an automatic way. It's just very easy to rush towards the bridge and get killed by the whale that just appeared there before you noticed it. It's far too easy to do that. Much easier than it looks. It's a real tendency in this game, so just check up the river each time before you run off to the goal. But that's the basic gameplay, really. I feel like I've explained it all pretty thoroughly. You stick to the 3 major positions. You check the river before you run off to the goal. And I really enjoy the gameplay. And actually, what I meant to say was I really enjoy the artwork. I do enjoy the gameplay too, but it's mostly because I enjoy the artwork, and that's where my enjoyment of the game comes from, mostly. Like I said, it's a little bit cute, but not quite too cute to be unlikable. So very nice. It's not quite a beautiful image, but it is appealing, and it's got a cheerful feel about it. Life seems cheerful when all you've got to do is catch a fishing pole and go get a snack, basically. Now, I don't think I've finished spitting out my description of the colors used for this game. And I just rushed my move and got killed. Thankfully, I've got at least 1 more life. So I'm actually rocking right here. I'm doing great right here. I just need to not rush. There's a double threat right there, though. So I do get caught right there. That number 1 position does get stuck once in a while. Anyway. See, now, hasn't the gameplay ramped up more difficult? And I thought I had 1 more life, but... oh, man. You know how you say, "aw, man," once in a while? Like, I just said that out of frustration. I was like, "oh, man." I was thinking earlier, "oh, man." I was thinking earlier, instead of saying, "oh, man," I was thinking that maybe Maybe I'll start a new trend of saying "aw penguin." Uh, Wait, I think I have to kill off my guy on purpose there. Like I'm not gonna play if I lost real early on like that. I'm gonna start a new game like that. So yeah, so instead of saying "aw man," I think I'm gonna start a trend maybe of saying "ah penguin." I mean, hey, not. Hey, why not, right? Hey, why not? Why can't I talk right now? But hey, why not? See if I can get that going. Like anytime people say "man" in their common conversation, people say "man" a lot. People say "what's up, man." People say "man." People say "hey, man," so on and so forth. So maybe I'll just start replacing it with penguin each time. Hey, what's up, penguin? Hey, how you been doing, penguin? But I don't think it would catch on. I've got a certain hunch that it would not catch on. Anyways, I do enjoy this cheerful little game. Check out the colors used. I started saying that wherever you see white, it's not printed with anything there, it's actually blank. So all the white color is just the blank paper board that's presumably what the background is made of. Presumably it's just a white piece of paper or a white piece of paperboard or cardboard. So I think that's I think you can see where they were cutting costs with this game. So wherever it's blank, it's obviously, oh man, penguin. Wherever it's blank, it's apparently a cost-cutting measure because it's not going to cost anything to leave something blank, of course. And then there are basically I think there's 3 colors used, 3 kinds of ink used. Let's check it out. There's the red color, which that pink is presumably a derivative of of some kind of red ink. The pink is presumably just a really... Yeah, I gotta kill him off now. Let's start a new game. Hang on a second. Okay, getting a sip of coffee. The pink is probably, a printing. What's the best way to say it? The pink is probably like a weak printing of the red ink. If you guys know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about, or maybe you don't. But now I'm gonna kill him off here. Okay, I'm not gonna play a game that's gimped out from having, a real early death like that. But anyways, a lot of low-cost toys and things have a pink color used in their imagery sometimes, and it's made by like a bunch of red dots, or that's basically it. It's used. It looks pink, but it's using a ton of really almost hard to see dots at all. In this game here, in this online game, you really can't tell. Man, penguin. Oh, look in the top right. I love his death face that appears in the top right when you get killed. It's got a blue beak, like the penguin is cold because he's dead. All right. Now, if you notice, my game is over, but it didn't zoom out, so I'm not exactly sure why sometimes it zooms out and sometimes it doesn't. I prefer when it doesn't like this, but it seems, a bit of a toss-up whether the website is going to zoom out for each game over or not. Let me get another sip of coffee. I'm talking my head off here. I'm talking my penguin head off. Back in position number 1. The best safe spot. So yeah, there seems to just be like three colors used. There's the pink color, which is presumably a sparse printing of red ink, and that's also apparently a cost-cutting measure too. Printing something with a deliberately weak use of the ink is going to be, that much cheaper than actually using some kind of ink at full strength. But anyway, it's got this weak this weak. I feel like I'm just not using the best description of it, but it's got that weak printing of red ink. It's got some weak blue ink, which I think works really well for the water. The light blue again would be a cost-cutting measure because it's not. Well, gotta start over. But it's obviously not using the blue ink in a strong way, in a thick, print of blue ink. It's just obviously not doing that. It's obviously, or at least it looks clearly to be a weak printing of blue ink. So it works really well though for water, I think. Let's see, it's got the yellow used for the safe spots. And that's really it. The black is the liquid crystal display itself. You might hear my neighbor's dog barking. But it's got black from the LED itself. The LCD itself. But as far as ink goes, it was a white piece of paper. I think it's paperboard, so it's just blank for all the white parts and printed with some weak red and weak blue. And the yellow looks like it could be, I don't know, the yellow doesn't look like it's a weak print, a weak use of the ink. It does look like a thicker print maybe, but whatever. It's mostly using the weak red and blue for the colors here, and that's it. It's got the three colors. The edges may look purple, like the edges of the cliffs and stuff like that. There's my hand messing up. I didn't mean to go back there right now. So the purple would be the combination of the red and blue together for the edges of the rocks and stuff like that. So that's cool. That's producing a. There is some purple used, which is just combining the two colors together to make another unique color. So that's cool. It's a good way to use those those few colors together. Just red, blue, and yellow. I think it's really well done. Like I said, it's not quite beautiful, but it is appealing looking. It's cheerful looking. The sky is white instead of blue, but I think it works because an overcast sky often is blue. Such as you'd find in the South Pole. The sky actually is white very often, so I think it works well here. And that's about all I can possibly say about this game. Except that I really enjoy it. I enjoy looking at the cheerful artwork. That's not quite too cute. I like that image of the penguin right there in his doorway. Just looks cheerful to run out of his igloo house and start the day. Just enjoy it all. Except my hand literally is cramping up here from using the keypad. This might be my last game. I've got one more life after this. Or this is my last life. I don't know. I'm not used to every single detail of this game yet, but I do have the basics down, and I've got to get a better handle on avoiding those situations of having multiple enemies threatening the penguin at the same time. They keep... Oh, and that's a random accidental movement, basically. Oh, God. Oh, penguin. Oh god, one thing I gotta also describe. I can't believe I haven't mentioned this. The last thing I'll probably have to describe here. Check out the background beeping of the. I don't even know what to call it. Check out the background beeping. Not when it's beeping from him dying. Check out just the ordinary repeating beeping pattern. Not that. But this right here. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Alright, I just gotta call your attention to that because it seems like it's trying to make... it's trying to make a rhythm out of it. I don't want to call it music, but there are music notes painted on the speaker of the, the plastic casing of this game. There's music notes painted onto the speaker. Maybe I'll show that in a second. But doesn't sound like different musical notes to me. It sounds like the same beeping sound, but it is trying to make a rhythm out of it. And I was really surprised when I realized that. Like at first I thought it was just repeating the same like 3 beeps over and over, but it's not. It'll have 3 beeps, then it'll have 2 beeps. Sometimes it'll have the game totally kick me out into that icicle. That dog's barking again. But it switches up its number of beeps. So it's trying to make some kind of rhythm out of it, and I was really surprised. I mean, I played this game for days and days before I realized that today, actually. I've probably been playing this game once in a while for like a week without realizing that. So listen to those background noises, those background beeps. It is changing to try to make a pattern. It'll have like three beeps and 1 beep, or it'll have like 2 beeps. I mean, whatever. Just listen for a bit. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Oh god, look at all these enemies. Kick me out into it. It'll be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I mean, it does all these different rhythms. I was really surprised to notice that, so check it out. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's so weird. I can't quite get used to the rhythm, but it's there. I can hear it that they're trying. They tried to make a rhythm out of a single repeating beeping sound. It's amazing in its own way. And that's different. Like the beeping that comes from making a goal or from dying, that's got nothing to do with it. It's got that repeating cycle of beeps, and it does change to try to make different patterns. This game is incredibly well made for such a completely limited format. Oh, and check out the music notes up here. This is what I'm talking about. It's got these music notes over its speaker. I wouldn't really say that the game has music, but it does have different strange rhythms, and I do have to acknowledge that. And maybe there's like 2 notes in there. It's hard for me to really say. I'm not the most musical person. I do love music. I do love listening to music, and but I don't have the best ear for picking out musical things like that. I think I'm hearing 1 beeping sound repeating, but it's hard to say. Someone who's more musical can comment in the comments below. Is it indeed 1 beeping sound that's repeating in different rhythms? That's what it sounds like to me. One, 2, 3, 1, 2. Let's see. The hell is it doing? One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. One. It's so weird. Such a weird rhythm. Let me start a new game. This game is not showcasing my gameplay like I would hope, but it is showcasing an awesome little game, and it's just been doomed to obscurity because it's originally limited to a gimmick on a kid's clock in Japan. So, very limited, very obscure game, and I really love this website, picapic.com. I'll put the I'll put the link in the description, of course. Check out that website; it's awesome. Picapic.com, very awesome website. It's got all these LCD games. It's got a couple dozen LCD games, and this one is a surprisingly well-made game that was doomed to obscurity before being posted online like this. There's somebody going by on a motorcycle or something right now. Yeah, as far as I know, this one website, picapic.com, is the first one to make this game digitized and preserved online like this. So it's really awesome, really fun, really surprisingly fun, and surprisingly well made for such a simplistic game that was really just a gimmick, like I said, just a gimmick on a kid's clock in Japan in the late 80s, most likely. Really love this game, though. They made really good use of the very small handful of ink they were using. I didn't mean to go over there, obviously. The handful of different kinds of ink they were using. There's yellow, like I said, red, and blue only. And with those 3 types of ink being used in weak amounts to save costs, I didn't mean to go there. Oh, God. Oh, penguin. They managed to make the overall image look more colorful than it really is. So they did a really great job with all the artwork, the colors. The gameplay is surprisingly complex and deep for being an LCD game, and especially for being just a special feature on a kid's clock in Japan. I didn't mean to go there to the right, but I didn't get killed by it, thankfully. Oh man, I'm getting exhausted. This game is exhausting sometimes. It's so fun. It's got this cheerful feel to it, but it can be like kind of exhausting. That's legit. It really is. You can get legit tired out and exhausted by this game. I want to get one more, successful round, and then I've got to go again. I'm out of coffee. I want to get some more coffee, and I want to do some other things. So let me shoot for this one last game being a successful one. I want to challenge my high score, which is still 480 at this point. And I've pretty much explained all I can say about this game. But it doesn't get old. It does get tiring and exhausting. But the game doesn't get old because it remains fun and playable, and that right there might just be my fatigue getting to me because I've been playing this game for a while, and sometimes you do just get tired and start to play more poorly. But anyway, gonna sign off pretty soon. But yeah, the game doesn't stop being fun and playable and enjoyable and cheerful, even though you get fatigued and you start playing badly like like I am right now. Great game, though. I'm really glad that this game was digitized. The site creator is just awesome for making this website, taking the effort to make all of these games digitized so nicely and saving them from obscurity, as well as bringing them to a larger audience around the world that would otherwise never see these games like this. I love this game. Like, this game is awesome. The game doesn't have to be to sell the units of the toy style clock that this really is. Most of the games on this website, I want to zoom out actually in a second and show what I'm talking about. Alright, most of these games, this is the overall unit. Most of them on this website are all clocks, and they're all meant to be very fun clocks, really. When you're not playing the game, this game stays in a demo of gameplay, so it's a very fun clock because every time you look at it, you can see the penguin like running around and trying to go fishing and trying to dodge, the polar bear, etc. So that's the fundamental purpose of all the games on this website. Like I said at the end of my last video, I have been keeping these games open as a fun clock on my screen all the time. I put them to a minimal size and I just keep them in a window floating around on my desktop. Double threats and I'm dead. Alright, I'm gonna go. This game is awesome, but I gotta go. Definitely check this out and give a donation to the creator of the site. Let me show real quick. Let's see. I think over here will show myself, unless it's just not going to. Okay, it's not going to show me. Before I was up here with 480, but right now it's not showing me. Hey, what's up, guys? Here's one more effort. Actually, I want to get past that wall I keep hitting in my scoring and my gameplay. Look at how I've mapped out the left and right. I've got the A button and that that button right there, whatever that's called. It might seem like a random couple of buttons, but I'm trying out different ways to hold the controls. Actually, like, since I can't use a gamepad, I figured I might as well try something different from just using the arrow keys. Especially that my right hand was legitimately starting to cramp up from using the those two arrow keys, holding my hand over the corner of my keyboard like this. So this is a different idea. I'm gonna use. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm holding my keyboard, and what those two keys have in common is that they're both the second key in from the side of the keyboard. So I'm holding the keyboard between my two hands now. This is an effort to roughly recreate the feel of holding, a game like this with buttons on each side. I'm trying to recreate the feel of holding something like this physical game right here. And it actually feels pretty good. Let's see how it works. Let me get one more sip of coffee. This is my last cup of coffee that I made. I'm out of coffee after this, so that's one reason to limit my gameplay here. Alright, I'm holding the keyboard. These two buttons. This actually seems awesome. I'm using my two thumbs now as if I'm holding one of those games. This feels great. Yeah, both of these buttons I'm using are basically in the center of the keyboard. The weight of it has a nice balanced feel to it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's basically 6 horizontal rows of keys on a Magic Keyboard, or at least on my Magic Keyboard. So the buttons I'm using are, let's see, the 4th down. So there's no exact center buttons, but these are about in the center. It's about the natural point that your thumbs come to if you're holding the keyboard on each side like this, with your thumbs hanging over, and the weight of it has a nice balance. The top of the keyboard is thick. The top of a Magic Keyboard is thicker than the bottom, so however this works out, holding it this way just feels good with the nice balance of its weight. And that's what I'm doing. It actually feels good, so let's have some more hardcore penguin action here. I've got one last cup of coffee, one last cup of caffeine to burn through, and then I'm going to go do some other stuff. But I really do love this game, and I want to get past that wall I keep hitting of getting my score in the 300s and 400s. But this feels awesome, actually. I'm holding the keyboard like this. This is great. This kind of opens up a whole new element for me of gameplay. A whole new element of gameplay. That's my dog sneezing in the background. Man, this feels great. I just made this up for this game, and it feels surprisingly great. I really love my iMac. That's my dog shaking off in the background. It just feels great. I love the iMac and its design. I love the stylistic design elements in the iMac itself, which is the Apple desktop. It's got the screen with, it's got everything. It's got the computer part built into the screen, basically, on a silver stand. This is the late 2017 iMac that I've been enjoying ever since. So, actually, I'm not sure about the exact dates of the model, but we bought it in late 2017, and it was the current model at that time. Sometime I might make a review of this iMac, but I do love it. I got caught between two enemies right there. Alright, let me I'm getting stuck. Alright. I'm getting caught between the different controls. Here we go. But yeah, this feels great. I'm just getting used to it for the first time, holding the keyboard like this. But it's surprisingly great. Feels surprisingly great. Okay, I didn't mean to do that at all. I was shifting my grip on the keyboard, so killing off his legs. But this feels great. This feels like I have a better, just a better feel and a better input altogether, holding it this way and using my thumbs for the input, which is more similar to the structure of the game itself, as well as it's using input that I'm used to from my whole life experience of playing the NES from a little kid on to today, you know, playing all different games on different consoles with different gamepads. And even when I play games on a computer or on my Mac, I use a gamepad when I can. So this is just much more natural and comfortable for me to play a game with my with my thumbs as if it's a gamepad. So this is surprisingly great. I feel like I have better, faster input, and like I was saying, my right hand was feeling cramped, and I couldn't quite get used to that quite yet. It was not bad, but holding my right hand over the left and right, holding my right hand over the arrow keys in the bottom right corner of my Magic keypad, it's not bad, but I kept feeling my hand just couldn't quite get used to it. I kept feeling a little bit of an awkward feel in my hand, trying to float it over my bottom corner of my keyboard like that. But this is great. Actually, I would recommend this to anybody. This is like using your keyboard, your Magic Keyboard, as almost like a gamepad. Using your thumbs on it for the input, almost like a gamepad, or like one of these handheld games on this website. So this is surprisingly awesome, and this really opens up another new element of the gameplay for me, and another new element of greatness of the game, of my experience of the game anyway. My dog's making noise. Number 1 position, the safest spot in the game. See, there's more bears than icicles usually, so it's got the least amount of enemies usually. The least amount of threats and enemies usually in that position. Number 1 right there. Number 2 and number 3. I won't go over all that again, but that's the basic gameplay. I will repeat, like I said earlier, that the gameplay is impressive. It's always impressive for being so complex and so deep on such a very limited format as the liquid crystal display like this. Like I've said elsewhere, this is essentially the same format as a digital watch or as a calculator. So I find it amazing that any kind of gameplay is able to be recreated on such a simple format as what's used on a stopwatch, digital watch, calculator, etc. I think any gameplay of any kind is impressive, especially great, enjoyable gameplay like this with some depth and complexity to it. This is incredibly impressive, I'd say. Safe spot number 1. And yeah, you guys got to try holding your keyboard like this, your Magic Keyboard. This is great. I can't vouch for other keyboards. I haven't really used other keyboards for a while now, for a couple of years now. Before this, I always had Windows computers, and I had, typical Windows keyboards, which are, much bulkier. They've got the bulky plastic all around the bulkier keys. So that's what I was used to, and I always kept it on my desk. And actually, no, that's not true. I would keep it mostly on my desk, but I would keep it sometimes on my lap as well, and that worked out for the bulky size of it. I could get it to feel natural on my lap usually. I'd keep the giant plastic keyboard on my lap, and I could usually type in a natural way and in a comfortable way like that with a giant plastic oversized keyboard. Hang on one second. I'm talking so much I need a sip of coffee. Oh no, I pressed the wrong button. Okay, I'm okay. I can't believe I didn't just die right there. Let me run back to my safe spot. So, holding the keyboard like this is sweet. I'd recommend it for anybody hoping to recreate the feel of using a gamepad or a handheld of any kind. I feel like I invented a new style of gameplay. I'm all excited. I did invent it for myself, after all. There's 2 enemies getting me, and wow, I have not been able to get past this wall I keep hitting. This is 460 for my score, and I guess I'm on my last life. Predictably, I'm dying with multiple enemies. Like I said, the enemy count seems to ramp up with multiple enemies that I keep on dying from. There's no way to survive right there. Unbelievable. I have not beaten 480. Amazing. Amazing. And it's the same score. It's not like it even keeps changing. Okay. Got my keyboard, holding it like it's an LCD handheld game. let's get some fish. Let's dodge some polar bears, some wolves, and some icicles and killer whales. And let's get some supper. I don't know if this game had a saying like on its packaging, but it should have said, let's get a fish dinner, let's get some fish dinner or something. That should have been like the logo or like the saying associated with this game. It should have said you're in the South Pole and you're hungry. Let's get some fresh dinner or something. This game does make me want to get some fish, and I don't even eat fish usually. But since we're talking about eating fish, one thing that I do have a taste for, I'll admit, is frozen salmon that you can buy packaged into a nice resealable plastic bag. At least I can buy this at my local grocery store chain. I don't know. I can't vouch for all grocery stores, but oh man. Oh, penguin. But yeah, at my local grocery store, I can buy different bags of frozen fish, and it'll be like you could buy like 10-pound bags or 20-pound bags of frozen fish. And I actually tried going through all the different kinds, and I couldn't really find a kind that I really liked besides the frozen salmon. So I would go and buy like a giant bag of like 20 pounds or 25 pounds. Alright, there I am rushing to my next move, getting killed for it, jumping at the fishing pole. Starting off, I was always rushing for the fishing pole and getting killed for it, like in my early gameplay of this game. Let the polar bear jump over you. Let the the wolf run by. Where does the wolf run to? It's kind of funny, it just vanishes. You have to imagine it running beyond that point. You have to imagine it, although it's not shown in any way. Oh god. See, you don't want to chill out there. I've said it. I've said that. Ah. A sip of coffee. Okay, this is my last. Oh god, I can't play starting out dying like that for no reason. See, if I die after I make some progress, I'll keep going, but I'll restart it if I die early on. Because it's like a pointless limit on your overall gameplay at that point. That's how I consider it anyway. Like that right there. I've got 40 points, which only means that I've made it to the goal twice. And after dying once with 2 goals completed, I'm not gonna keep that same game going, because I'll always have one less life than I should, So I only keep games going that have a good start to them. I wonder if this game got advertisements. If it did, the tagline that I think should have had, that I think it should have had printed on it, or said, spoken in the commercials on TV, if it had such commercials. If so, even on the radio, commercials in any form, printed or spoken, it should have had the logo. You're lost in the South Pole. Actually, no, you can't say you're lost. You're in your front lawn. It should have said you're. Let's see. Let me think about it for a second. Okay. It should say you're stuck in the South Pole. There we go. You can't say you're lost, because that doesn't fit. But you can say you're stuck in the South Pole. And it should say you're stuck in the South Pole, you're cold, and you're hungry. Man, I don't know. I just kind of think it's funny to say phrases associated with let's get some fish dinner. Let's get some cold fish dinner, something like that. You're stuck in the South Pole, and it's dinner time, baby. Let's get some cold fish dinner. Something like that. You're stuck in a snowbank, and it's dinner time. Anyways, I do love this game. Very cheerful gameplay experience, I find. And that comes primarily from enjoying the artwork, the cheerful artwork. It's not overdone with its art style. It's not overly cute, like I was saying earlier. It's just the tiniest bit cute, so I do enjoy it. And it's got that cheerful feel of its imagery and its gameplay because of it. Because of the basic artwork, just, being drawn so well and so cheerful. 140, so playing a decent game. I've got to get going. Oh my god, the game just kicked me out right there. Oh, my penguin. Alright, I'm going to wrap this up. This will be my last life. I love when I'm able to snatch the fishing pole like that. Like in front of the wolf. I love when I'm able to do that. Great game, definitely check it out. Oh, one last thing I want to say about this game. Imagine being a kid in Japan in the late 80s. Like, imagine being a young kid and you had this as, as a clock in your room. And imagine, especially if you didn't have other games to play, this would be amazing as a young kid in Japan, especially with limited games to play. Just imagine how amazing. The killer whale got me. Okay, but yeah, I'm gonna peace out, and just imagine how awesome this would have been as a kid in Japan, because it was limited. Its presence was completely limited to Japan before the internet has brought it to the rest of the world. Check out that website. Donate via PayPal, because it's an awesome site. Let me put it on the demo. Here we go. This is the clock demo mode right here. Very fun to watch and very fun to use the clock. Check it all out. And just imagine if this was your only game, or like one of your only games as a kid, and this just would have been amazing. And I also just love the way the whole physical game looks. I just love the colors of it. I love the primary colors of it all, the blue, red, yellow, and white. I just love it all. Imagine being a kid and having this as a clock in your room. Imagine it being your primary clock, or using it, to set your alarm to go to school, for example. Just imagine if this was the image you had every time you look at your clock normally. I just find it endlessly fun to look at, and I find it all to be a very funny game as well. I guess I find cartoon penguins just to be funny in general, funny looking in general. They always look kind of clumsy and comical. But I do enjoy all of it very much, and go check it out and go donate via PayPal. Why can't I say that phrase? Go and check it all out. I'll post another video if I do manage to break the wall of my gameplay that I keep on smashing against.